Welcome. So we have managed to get to lesson 10. Well done for your patience, for your persistence, for your hunger for finding out who you are. This lesson today is about our overleaves, our spiritual DNA, why we are the way we are. And this it helps you have compassion for yourself and others by learning this information. And again, this is a lot deeper than I'm showing you in the lesson. But if you get the book from Shepherd Hoodwin, The Journey to the Soul, this explains in a lot more detail and helps you decide a little bit more about which of these you are. So like everything in the Michael teachings, there are 7 of everything. And I've left needs to a separate lesson. So we're just going to look at 6 of them today, which are roles, goals, modes, centers, attitudes, and the dreaded chief eater, our ego. So in each of these groups, there are 7 categories of which you will be one. So we're just going to read through all of these and you take notes of what you think suits you and explains you the best. Now, it could be a predominant past life or your essence twin or task companions energy can bleed into your aura where you feel as though I am that, but I'm also that, and I'm also that. You will be predominantly one of these, but it's quite usual that you, for example, my essence twin and my task companion are warriors and I'm a king. So I'm quite strong and quite feisty, which is part of my warrior bleed through, but I am a king in my essence, in my role. So in the Messages from Michael book, there is a section in here that has the plus and minus of each of your roles and your goals, all of these. So if you chose, for example, in your goals, for example, if you thought you were acceptance, then it would be ingratiation and agape. They're clue words of the negative and the positive. We start in the negative and we go to the positive as part of our growth. Would give us clues to think, that doesn't quite sound like me. Let me look at a different one. So there is a bit of information here that helps you discover a bit more if you're confused about which one you are. Again, don't use your head. This has got to be from here. Trust your gut on what you think you are. So our role stays with us for our entire journey on Earth. So our 200-ish lifetimes. It's the only one that we continue with lifetime after lifetime. So for me, I'm very used to being a king or queen. I would have been this many, many times before. None of them are better than another. We will all be all of them at some point. And they're all beautiful. They all have their own distinctive flavour and tasks in which to grow. So you may be, for your role, which is your primary way of being, your hat, if you like, that you wear. So you might be a server. If you were a server, you would probably be a nurse or a doctor. Mother Teresa and the Dalai Lama were all servers, and Queen Elizabeth II. You would be positive and caring, devoted, friendly, nurturing. Very beautiful person, and there's an eye shape that goes with all of these roles, which again you can find through the Michael teachings. Fascinating. If you have a look at the Dalai Lama, Mother Teresa and Queen Elizabeth's eyes, they all have the same sort of milky feel to them. And this goes on and on. I obviously can't give you all the information in one lesson, but this learning is available for you to follow through. Or you might be a priest. So if you were a priest, you might be a local minister in whichever religion. It's all part of the growth. or an inspiring figure. President Obama was a priest. You would be compassionate and guiding and healing, and you would be on a spiritual mission. But again, can be in any religion, because all religions stem from love. They've just changed as we've gone through time. You may be an artisan. An artisan might mean that you're a painter or an actor. Audrey Hepburn and Princess Diana were artisans, very creative, very stylish. Or you may be a sage. Jim Carrey is a sage, to give you an idea. The court jester, the one that's always entertaining everyone. And they would be positive and colourful. Oprah is also a sage, expressive, loving, fun, friendly. Great people, sages. Warriors. If you are a warrior, you may be a policeman or somebody who constantly comes to the rescue of others. Harrison Ford is a warrior, very positive and deliberate, focused and protective, and Barbara Streisand is also a warrior. Or a king. So you might be a CEO of a large corporation or an actor. Sean Connery is a king, very deliberate, kind of lots of presence about them. Benevolent, positive, charismatic, loyal, perfectionist, composed, stable, strategist. So I'm a king. So maybe you've got to know my personality a little bit while you've been working with me over the last 10 weeks. So it gives you an idea of what a king might be like. Or you might be a scholar. A scholar might be a college professor or a writer of fiction novels, very curious, very easygoing, logical, methodical. Anthony Hopkins and William Shakespeare were scholars. Now, my casting, which we're not going to go into today, is scholar, king, scholar. So even though I have the essence of king, I'm very much somebody who absorbs knowledge and information. Again, this is a lesson for another day. We will carry this on. So to give you a bit of an idea on the percentages of the roles on Earth that we have currently, we have 25% servers, 22% artisans, 17% warriors, 14% scholars, 10% sages, 8% priests, and 4% kings. Now, these are because of the applicable roles that are available on Earth. So we need more servers to look after everyone. We don't need quite so many entertainers, and there are limited amounts of royal jobs and CEOs that are required. So you're beginning to see that there's huge order in everything. It's orchestrated in perfect harmony and perfect vibration, even from the little part that we're looking at today. So in your journal, write down what you think you are. And then if you're not quite sure and you've got a couple, write both of them down. Do further investigative work in the books that I've recommended, and you will become very clear. And it helps you. It's quite important to know exactly what you are. So you might eventually want to get your chart channeled. For example, when I first started doing this work, I thought I was a warrior. And so I went out rescuing everyone. I felt like it was always my job to be there to pick everyone up and help them. So that's very much a push energy. And when I found out that I was a king, that energy is very much like this, in surveillance, looking after my peoples, managing and controlling my kingdom, which is very much a pull energy. So be careful that you don't convince yourself you're something without actually finding out what you are by getting your chart channeled, because you might end up making yourself be something that you're not, which will push you a little bit off your path. So again, keep an open mind and do some investigative work and Don't believe everything you read firsthand. This is an ongoing journey. So the next is your goals. So your goals are the thing that pulls you. Like, for example, in week 4, we looked at numerology. So, for example, I'm a 22-4. So the 4 is my goal. It's my life path. It's what drags me through life. So your goal is very similar to that. It's your primary motivator. So you may have a goal of growth, and this would be a life that's busy with hurdles and tasks, and you would be very keen to have more. You would be motivated to be doing more all the time. Rejection. You would be a critic in life who rejects anything that doesn't meet your exacting standards, quite pedantic about everything. Or you may have acceptance. If you had acceptance, you would be very agreeable. You would be very friendly, and you would readily accept others, somebody really lovely to be around. But there is, don't forget, negative and positive energy of all of these. Or you may have submission, where you would be selflessly devoted to others or a cause and serving with unwavering support and commitment. And if this was the case, you would be that person who's always kind of out the front, that's holding and looking after everyone. Or dominance. You are driven to lead with the motivation to control and direct what is encountered. I have dominance as my goal. Makes you quite strong people. Bolshe is a word that has been described in my younger years. Quite strong characters. Stagnation. It is about rest and not fighting against the current. It takes the path of least resistance. This person may enjoy just taking it easy and just putting their feet up and just going with the flow. This could be indicative of a life of rest. They may be on a part of the cycle of their soul ages where they're having a down life, where it's a little bit easier to just come and do some gentle growth. Or retardation. You would be somebody that simplifies and rids life of unnecessary distractions to concentrate on 1 or 2 issues. Very focused, maybe you're a coder and all you want to do is sit and code all day and night and eat and not have friends, like very targeted and specific about certain things that need to be achieved in this lifetime. So again, decide which one you think you are and make a note in your journal so that you can investigate further. Will help you know why you do the things you do, and it will give you some direction towards your soul plan. All of this information that you have gained through the course is has a common thread. So when you put all the learning together, you start building this beautiful picture about who you are. It's like chicken soup for the soul. I know that's a book, but it's a beautiful way of looking at it. Now, your modes. Your modes help you achieve your goals. So this is a dominant way of operating. So you may have your mode as reserve repression. This would be about you would be governed by emotions, restraint, discipline. You would have a great appreciation for beauty, everything. You would see things in a completely different way to others. Passion. You would lose yourself in an intensity of emotion or energy. You would have unbridled enthusiasm. And this would be the modus operandi of a mode of passion. Maybe a bit annoying, very, very, very passionate about everything, which depends whether you're in the plus or negative, plus or minus. Or you may have caution, hits the brakes on enthusiasm and plays it safe. So somebody that's always like this, want to do it, don't know when to do it, like stopping and starting all the time. choosing more deliberation before taking action. Might spend quite a lot of time on Google investigating things. Power would be the voice of authority expressing all opinions with unmistakable presence. It would be the person that you would always notice in a room, that you would listen to. You'd be very aware of somebody who had the mode of power. Perseverance. This is a little bit like the Duracell advert where the bunny's just standing like this. The energy bunny that keeps on going and usually achieves its long-term goals. Perseverance. Wouldn't give up. Aggression. Highly assertive and ready to take a stand. These people are full of life and ready for any challenge. This might be somebody who leads a march or a campaign or a charity or something that they really believed in. There would be no getting them to change their view. They would be very fixed in what they wanted to do. And observation. This is what I am. Looks at life with detachment. They very quickly assess the flavour of the environment, kind of seeing from a higher perspective. And I guess this comes with time, especially if you're doing your spiritual work. There is 50% on the planet of observation and 30% of caution, just to give you a little bit of a flavour of how all this blends together. This kind of makes sense. Lots of people trying to do this, lots of people looking from here. It's just amazing when you start putting it all together. I'll come back to centres in a second because they're slightly different. Attitudes. Attitudes are the lens we view life, how we see life. Now again, this depends on your mental well-being, but it's deeper than that. It's in your DNA. So you might be stoic. You do not make waves. They accept the world as is and never get flustered by the chaos of life. So they'll just be quite calm people. They kind of get it. They understand it. Spiritualists, inspired by the possibilities of what may be, and are guided to whatever is inspiring and uplifting. They will be looking for things that would make them feel energized. Skeptics would take nothing on faith and insist on investigating unsupported claims. These ones definitely on Google, looking up everything. Cynics often expect the worst and find amusement in life's absurdities. Cynics would be quite dry sense of humour. I know a couple of people that are cynics. They're actually amazing people to be around. It gives you another perspective to look at things. Realist. So you may be Libra or you may be a lawyer. Weighs the facts and views life without embellishment. They just see things as they are. A lot of truth in being a realist. Pragmatist. This is what I am. Efficient, practical, keenly interested on what gets the best results. Sees things in boxes. If for example, if my daughter fell over and cut her knee, I would just kind of go, come on, darling, put a spit on that plaster, off you go and play. Like very practical, not without love, of course, I'm full of love, but just a slightly different way of doing things. And idealists. Embraces life with enthusiasm for positive change in the world. So you might be leading the campaign for Greenpeace or starting a plastic bottle revolution. Good. We need more people like this. And I would imagine over time, the universe will create a world where we have more idealists. So now let's go back to centres because they're slightly different. There are 7 centres, but the instinctive centre, which is one of them, is extremely, extremely rare to have as your predominant centre. So I haven't even listed it. It's kind of like intuition. It runs through all of us. The odds are so minute that it's not even worth putting on here, because I doubt very much that you will have that as your predominant centre. So there are 4 main centres, and if you are emotional or intellectual, you then have access to higher emotional and higher intellectual. So I'll explain as we go through these. So you may be emotional centre. You experience life through your feelings and your emotions. You might cry a lot if you've got an emotional centre. They're stirred by sad films and beautiful films and music, very much operating from the heart centre. Beautiful, take things to heart a lot. Or you may be intellectual centre. Now, this isn't the same as being an ego. It's more about using your brain as a sat-nav or a computer, which is how we should be using it now we've got rid of the mud over there. So we would live life through the power of thoughts and analysis and left brain thinking, reading, writing to-do lists, philosophy. This would be your predominant centre. Now, you could be one of these and have one of these as well, or you could just be one of those. You can be 2 in here. And if you were these, you would also have access to this higher energy. So if you have a physical centre, you would react to the world through imploding. So this can actually create physical illness, because if we're ingesting and keeping inside all of this trauma, this anger, this pain, eventually it's got to come out somewhere, but it can come out through physical illness as well. So if you think you have got physical centre, make sure you're finding a way of being able to release some of this energy through sport or doing something to be able to release it, talking, counselling, therapy, something to allow yourself to impart some of this physical energy. You would react to the world by imploding, like the moving centre, but internalised. You would be very hungry for sex, internal mechanisms, and you would be very much focused on the inside. If you had a moving centre, it would be like having ants in your pants. You would always be on the go, and you often do repetitive motions like swimming or walking or mowing the lawn or doing things where you get used to this constant moving around. So, for example, I am intellectual with moving. So very focused on get lost in doing things, but I also can't sit still, and I'm constantly wanting to grow, and that's got a lot to do with other things as well as part of my makeup that we haven't had chance to go through yet. So if you are either emotional or intellectual as your predominant centre, you would have access to this higher energy. So this is a transformational state of awareness and is not dominant in our experience all the time. It's too high energy, it would burn the bodysuit out. But it needs to be accessed to fulfill your full centre. So if you were emotional, making sure that you do things where you see beauty, going to galleries, walking in nature, watching films, being in love, all of those things to stimulate that emotional centre. And if you were intellectual, making sure that you're reading and that you're learning about philosophy and really stimulating the higher levels of that intellectual centre to make sure that we have a rounded experience and that we're accessing these higher realms. So, last one, chief features, dreaded chief features. This is our ego. And this is a false personality that is a chronic phobia that we have chosen for ourselves to act as a persistent obstacle during a lifetime. And ego comes in somewhere between 14 and 18 years old, which also explains why our teenagers not only have so much struggle with puberty, but also because ego's kicking in. Poor kids, they've got so much going on. Please be kind to them. Um, it's the only overleaf that can be changed during a lifetime, but it's really it would take so much will to change it. And to be honest, they're all horrible. So why rush to go and try and change it? Chi features are established to protect us from dying. So the ego doesn't want us to die because we've agreed to come for a certain period of time to do our journey, to get our growth, to learn our lessons. So it's there to protect us. It's there to ensure that we do what we came to do. But when we become off balance, like we were at the beginning of the course, and we get trapped in this chronic phobia of fear, and it becomes so part of our experience that it causes us to be so off balance. It causes us so much pain. This kind of explains a little bit about why it can be so devastating. So we will either be self-depreciation, fear of inadequacy, not being good enough. The motto of the false personality would be, if I cannot improve myself and become adequate, somehow I will die. Arrogance, fear of being judged. If others criticize me, I will die. Self-destruction, fear of losing control. A lot of addicts and alcoholics would have this as their false personality. If I lose control, I will die. Greed, fear of not having enough. If I do not get enough, I will die. This can apply to anyone. It can be applied to somebody who doesn't have enough, or to somebody that has much more than enough, but is never satisfied. Martyrdom, fear of worthlessness. If I do not become worthy and prove my worth, I will die. Impatience, fear of missing out. If I do not beat the race against time, I will miss out and I will die. Somebody that always wants to get an invitation to the party. Stubbornness. Stubbornness is the most common in the world today. This is fear of change. Now, this makes huge sense, really, because we're in a world that is resistant to changing. And this is because of ego and because of this unconscious state of being how we've been for centuries, which no longer serves us, moving into this new dawning of Aquarius, this new era of enlightenment. The motto for a false personality with stubbornness is, if things change, I will die. I'm stubbornness, and many of my clients have this. And now I know, because I thought it was greed when I did it myself, now I know that it's stubbornness. My motto used to always be, I'm not ready, because I was never ready to change. But now I know it's just my false personality. I'm like, I'm doing it. It's really helped me become unstuck. And quite honestly, we can all do everything that we want to do. It's only our fear of what others are going to say about us and our chronic phobia that holds us back. So if you want to do something, find out what your phobia is, stare at it in the face and laugh at it, and just get on so that you can move forward in your life. So this is a subject that you will continue to do much more work on. It really helps understand what the DNA is, our spiritual DNA. It helps us break some barriers. It helps us be more compassionate. If you were, for example, a warrior and people criticized you and said, you're always there, you're always the one that is standing up for somebody, why don't you mind your own business, for example? Knowing that you are a warrior makes you say, but that's what I came to do. See how it works. Once you understand, you kind of step into the shoes of your pre-designed life, and you feel more safe about why you're doing things, and you can actually develop them and step into the positive rather than the negative that we all start in as part of this process of moving forward. So overleaves help us perceive how we interact with the world. They are a set of personality attributes that we choose for each lifetime. Life is a game, and we have all chosen to play. Now, if we not only think of the life that we design for ourselves to be important for our children, perhaps if we think about the life that we design is a life that we're going to have to relive again in the future, perhaps we would treat it with more care, with more love and more respect, because the world we leave today is the world we have to live in tomorrow. Let that one land. So, you have a really good view now of so many aspects and facets of yourself, of your soul, of your mind, of your body, of which all have to work in unison. You have an expanded view of your perception of the world in which we live. You have learned some beautiful tricks and tips that will help your journey on earth. I hope that you will be more compassionate to others, that you will remain happy in your experience, because it is the only way to live. And teaching others and helping others through difficult times is what we're all here to do. So if you found that this knowledge has been useful to you and has helped you raise your vibration during your awakening, which is what you've been processing while working with me, help others, because it is the only way to live your life. Now, I want you to have a look at the scale of 1 to 22 and just see where you finished. So you will have noted in your journal at the beginning where you thought you were to start with. So you might need to pause the video for a second, just spend some time having a look at 1 to 22 and write this in your journal. And how amazing, I can't see what you're writing, but I know that it's going to be a lot higher than where you started. How incredible, with just a little bit of work, you can raise and be so much happier and see life in a different way than when you first started working with me. I would love to hear how much you've grown. Please leave comments. Follow me on socials. I'm on Instagram and on Facebook, who.am.i.london, on both of them. And let's try and help the world awaken together. And I wish you very well. I will be uploading more videos in the future on different subjects to keep your learning going. But do the steps. Go back and finish your soul plan. Go back and read all the books. And if necessary, to keep you topped up, your subscription allows you for 1 year's viewing of the channel. Go back and do the course again, even if it's only skimming. Will really help you keeping your energy. And it is habitual. Once you learn how to change the way you see things, the way you see things changes. So, namaste. My name is Charlie Gregg, and it has been my absolute pleasure to serve you on this beautiful journey. So until next time, enjoy your life. Bye-bye.